Hello, my name is Nathan Taylor, otherwise known as Sockmatician, and this is a video tutorial to accompany the Sockmatician's Double Knitted Brioche ebook. This particular video tutorial shows you how to work the 4x4 left crossing cable in Double Knitted Brioche. I've got an example of cables here in my Rest on Your Laurels hat, which is one of the patterns included in the book. This happens to be a right-leaning cable, but the left-leaning cable is the one we're looking at in this video. You can see here that two lines of knit stitches with their purl columns in attendance cross over the top, going to the right in this case, and the other two columns go that way. The beauty of double knitted brioche cables is that they are completely reversible. So if I turn the hat inside out, you can see we've got the same thing going on the inside. It's a really smart technique. If you've ever worked with reversible cables in ordinary knitting, you know that it's just a rib, and of course brioche is a ribbed fabric, so this makes reversible cables really simple. We're looking at the left-leaning cable, as I said, in this one, and I've worked on this practice swatch to the point where I want to work the cable. You are going to need to find yourself a matching sized cable needle, one that's appropriate to the needles you're actually working with. Yes, I'm sure we can all do cabling without a cable needle, but just bear in mind, when you're working with this fabric, you've got stitches and yarn overs. This is a 4x4 stitch cable, so that's going to be 8x8 strands, and you really don't want to be crossing 8 strands over 8 strands without the help of a cable needle, unless you're super proficient at this kind of stuff, but I'm not, so I'm going to use a cable needle, and I suggest you do as well. The first thing to do then, as I've said, I've worked across to the point where I'm going to be making the cable, and I'm going to be using the next 4 pairs of stitches, 1 2 3 4 knit stitches across the front here and the purl stitches across the back. So these two columns are going to be crossing over to the left in front of these two. So the first thing to do is to take your cable needle and slip 4 stitches, that's 2 pairs of stitches, purlwise each time, from the left needle to the right. Slip them straight onto the cable needle without working them. Now, because this is a left-leaning cable, we're going to be holding the cable needle in front of the work, and that does mean we need to get the pearl-coloured yarn over the top of it. So if you drop the cable needle down like that and have your yarns over the top of it, you won't get into too much of a tangle. I'm going to tension my yarns in my hands for working double knitted brioche. So I've got my knit coloured yarn over the top of my right needle and my pearl coloured yarn coming to the front between the two needles, making sure that it's over the top of that cable needle. What I like to do is I just stuff the end of my cable needle back into the work just to stop it from tangling up over everything, and we can retrieve that later. So here we go. I'm going to work the next 2 pairs of stitches. Not too tight or anything like that, because we do want to make sure that we don't have a tight bunched up cable too much. And work those 2 pairs of stitches exactly as you already know how to if you're working through this book sequentially. If not, why not? So there we are. I've now worked my 2 pairs of stitches beyond the 2 that are on the cable needle, and so now I'm going to slip these stitches back over to the left needle. You could of course work them from the end of the cable needle, but it just sort of gets a little bit tangled up sometimes. So it's important to remember to I'm going to take my pearl coloured yarn to the back, just out of the way, so that I can slip these stitches from the cable needle to the left needle without anything tangling up. And once again, these stitches with their yarn overs are all slipped purl wise. 1 2 3 and 4. Then I can get my yarns in my hands ready for working standard double knitted brioche again, which means bringing my pearl coloured yarn back to the front. We only took it to the back out of the way, not to do anything with it. And then I can work the next 2 pairs of stitches exactly as you already know how. There's nothing to this really. It's not any different from any other type of double knitted brioche knitting. It's just got a bit of cabling thrown in for good measure. And there's the final purl stitch. Just to lock everything in place, I'm going to work 1 stitch beyond that, just so I can show you what it all looks like at this point. I'm finishing, of course, by taking my knit coloured yarn to the back of the work. And if I stretch everything out there, you can quite clearly see we've got the beginnings of a beautiful cable here. These 2 columns of knit stitches here, which are tucking in underneath that one, will eventually pop out on this side, and there you have the perfect 4x4 left-leaning cable in double knitted brioche. Zip!